And welcome to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. I'm Trip Mitchell. That is Randall Carlisle.
How are you doing today, Trip?
I'm wonderful. And my wife criticized us. She said to me,
How dare she? What'd she say?
She said we don't introduce our guests soon enough, that you and I rap. So our guest today is Jamie Shaw. And Jamie, this is where we're going to do host rap.
Okay.
And this is...
And she criticized you for that. So now you're taking care of issues at home by introducing him right now.
Bingo.
Right?
That's
Are you happy, dear?
Yeah. Probably not. But the name of the show, Odyssey House Journals, where what we do each week is talk about challenges in terms of addiction and both alcohol and drugs. But we talk about the good side of it, and that's recovery. And there's so many people here in the state of Utah, thousands who are dedicated to helping you in recovery. Randall, longtime newsman, had a chance to continue in news for a lot longer, but you've gone on to work for Odyssey House.
Yes, and I love it. I love it. I got out of my contract 2 years early so I could work at Odyssey, and I've been there for 2 years, and it's the best job I've ever had in my life. And I'm not saying that because I work at Odyssey. It feels good. It feels good to go to work every day.
And part of AA is one of the things that they do a great job with is the saying is, if you want to keep it, you've got to give it away. And by that, part of being sober is to help other people who have challenges. And Randall and I had a chance to, that's your full-time gig, but this TV show, podcast, Lee, by the way, our wonderful producer, is a way for us to give back. And we've done
they're only paying us about $10,000 an episode, and I don't think that's sort of giving back, don't you think?
Giving once the taxes are taken out.
No, this is all free.
Yeah, so. we're doing this to give back, and we've had a chance to meet. We're coming up on 40 shows.
Wow!
And
it's being viewed a lot. I've got to tell you, we talked about this the last episode, but we're like maybe 12. We reach like 12,000 people every show in countries all over the world, including. I thought this was cool. 19 from Russia last week, and I got this telegram, or it was a email, and it said, "Dear Odyssey House Journals, thank you for helping me with my drinking problem. This is from Russia. I'm doing my job much better now. Signed, V. Putin."
Sorry for not writing longer. I've got to call one of my employees in Washington.
No, but really, I don't understand why somebody we had 34 listeners in Switzerland last week. Now, why? I don't know.
Well, having been in Switzerland about 10 years ago for a hockey tournament, I noticed there was a lot of beer around. And if they hadn't wanted us to drink, why would they put a beer in our locker room before the game?
That's true.
But we're hitting about, as Randall said, between 11 and 12,000 listeners. And it's all because of great, people in this challenge. And one of the things that we do a couple times a show is give out the number for Odyssey House. And we're not a shill for Odyssey House. We literally started this because Randall was working there and we wanted to do something great for the community. And again, for a podcast to get up to 11,000, 12,000 listeners is an accomplishment.
Yeah. So the number is, I'm glad you asked me that, Trip. I'll play announcer, 801-322-3222.
And now we've gone through our segment called Host Talk. And now why don't you introduce Jamie?
Jamie Shaw. The reason... I heard about Jamie through one of my coworkers, Rachel Santizo, who you love.
Absolutely.
In a camaraderie kind of fashion.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And what happened is recently we made a connection with Intermountain Healthcare, and this is a reflection of how treatment programs are broadening their horizons so they can serve more people in need. And maybe I should let Jamie tell the story, but go ahead. I don't want to steal it from you, but we made an arrangement to bring people into treatment sooner who are in an IHC hospital with medical condition but need treatment. So maybe you could sort of describe how that happened.
Sure. So May 3rd of this year, I attempted suicide and ended up in the hospital. Spent 14 days in the ICU and then another 17 in ICU recovery. And I
Let me move this a little farther away so you don't knock it. Go ahead.
all right.
Yeah.
And I knew I was done. I just wanted out because I could not stop. It was just I'd reached a point in my life to where I knew, it was the only way out for me at that time.
What was your drug of choice or alcohol? It was drugs or alcohol?
It was alcohol and meth.
Okay.
Alcohol and meth is what actually the end of it, pretty much. But yeah, I spent 34 days there, and in that time, I was trying to think of, because I had tried to end everything, and I was just lost, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was, I was still in a dark place, and so I had asked my sister-in-law, who was there with me the whole time. My family was, actually all of my family was there, but my sister-in-law and my brother were so adamant about getting me the right help and getting me the treatment, that I needed. And so with my medical condition being the way it is, we had tried a couple different places, and we were actually looking on the top 100, and Odyssey House was at the very top of that list.
Wow.
And so, with her help, her calling around, and, they said they could take me.
See, the problem up to that point, and for most treatment centers, was like you had a PICC line and some tubes coming out or something.
Yeah,
Right,
I had
right.
a PICC line and 2 JP drains on my right side for my liver.
And most treatment centers will not take somebody into residential housing with that situation. And so Odyssey worked out a deal with IHC and with VOA in case somebody with a PICC line needs to go to detox at VOA and then come into Odyssey. But we worked out the program now, and we've had several clients come through. He's the very first. So
You were a trend setter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
so you came into Odyssey House with a PICC line and some tubes coming out.
By the way, what is a PICC line?
A PICC line is
Good point. Good question. Yeah.
It's a line that goes straight to your heart. It's where they can administer medicine and stuff like that. And because of my injuries, I had to have some serious antibiotics because I was facing some quite serious issues.
So your odds for just medical recovery were long.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You shouldn't be here now.
I should not be.
We're glad you are. Well, he's really not. This is the magic of television, and we reached into the celestial kingdom to bring him here for this show.
Right.
But see, the problem with IV drug users frequently is that you get an infection that goes to your heart, and what's it called, endocarditis.
Yes.
Right? And so that you need the PICC line with the antibiotic, and up till this new arrangement, it was very difficult to bring somebody into a program.
But irrespective of what you had going medically, if you didn't have the recovery from the drugs and the alcohol, what they were doing medically wasn't going to help.
Yeah.
temporarily. anyway.
Temporarily. Yeah.
So this was kind of a unique situation.
Sure. Absolutely.
He was a guinea pig at
Did you
Odyssey,
realize?
so-
Did you realize how much hard work was going on behind the scenes? Your sister-in-law and everyone at IHC and Odyssey, and
I was in so much pain all the time, but her talking to me every day, just putting forth the effort to make sure that I had a place to go. And the doctors were a little concerned that, maybe I need to take a little bit of time off before going into treatment, but that wasn't going to happen. I left the hospital and went straight to Odyssey House. Rachel, who we know,
Yes.
showed up at the hospital, and she came in the room. I was extremely nervous, but then, she made me feel at ease and was telling me, you know what, you're going to do good at this program. And I believed her, and through faith,
And how did the other Odyssey clients react to you with a PICC line and tubes and stuff like that?
A lot of them didn't know because I tried to hide it, but you
Okay.
can only hide it for so long and so much. And when they were in awe that I actually survived, and they were friendly, and they would always ask me how you're doing, and I would tell them, I'm doing great, I'm getting better, and but they did treat me a little bit differently because I don't think they knew how when I told them a suicide attempt, I don't think they really knew how to react. And I kind of hated putting them on the spot like that because,
Well, my guess is at Odyssey House, there are a number of other people who've had suicide
Oh,
attempts.
very much so. I
Yeah.
mean, that's very common among addicts and alcoholics to think suicide or attempt suicide or something like that.
oh, absolutely. Oh, I definitely agree. The few that were really serious about their suicide attempts, they knew. I mean,
Sure.
they were friendly, but for the most part, I tried to hide most of it.
And once you got into treatment, what did you transition to treatment pretty quickly, or were you still thinking of the medical things? Was it hard to throw yourself into treatment?
Yeah, for the first month, it was hard to throw myself into treatment, but I did not miss a therapy session or a group session. I didn't want to miss anything because I was there to get everything that was, I was lucky to get. And it was a whole new atmosphere, a whole new beginning, a whole new chapter of my life. And as much pain as I was in, I didn't care. I just wanted to be sober.
What we always ask people, obviously, if you were at a low point in your life where you wanted to commit suicide, that's pretty low.
Yeah.
But what was the turning point that you said, okay, I want to get clean and I want to live my life and there is a future? What was it lying in the hospital or what was it?
It was at Odyssey House. Absolutely Odyssey House.
Really?
It was probably...
This is not prompted, by the way, folks.
It was definitely Odyssey House. I could just connect with so many people, and I just wanted to live. I was so grateful for surviving. But the things that Odyssey House helped you with, they took me completely out of my comfort zone. First week while I was there, I was like, there's no way I can do this program. I am out of my comfort zone. This just, crazy. But the more, because of the first month of just doing a lot of listening and stuff like that, I became, it just clicked. It really, really clicked. And I thought, I love this place. I'm not going anywhere. I love it.
So let's go back to the lowest of the lows before you tried to commit suicide.
Okay.
What was a day like? And I want to do this. I don't want to get into your pain, but I want people watching to know drugs and alcohol can be, alcohol in particular, pretty glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
Every TV commercial, no one shows you at home
Yeah.
drinking alone. You're with friends drinking your...
Picking up beautiful women, you're driving fast cars, you're,
Yeah.
all that
What was
kind
the
of stuff.
lowest of the low like?
For me, a lot of it was taking pills, hydrocodone pills, getting them from, a dealer, taking pills. And when I couldn't take pills, I would take meth. But drinking, I would go to Wendover for concerts and load up my car full of beer. Because,
Cheaper and heavier in
Yeah.
alcohol content.
cheaper and heavier in alcohol. And I would do my best to hide it. But I had to have it every day.
What was your
Every day.
job at the time?
My job at the time, I was a commercial plumber.
Okay.
And I would call it my unauthorized whiskey vacations. I would start drinking on the weekend, miss a week of work, and beg my way to come back.
And you had enough charm to get back in?
Absolutely. My work ethic is what did it for me. And it was kind of an enabler, my work ethic, because every time I asked to come back, they'd let me come back. And they,
And they weren't enabling you. They thought they were helping you.
Yeah, exactly.
But they knew why you were gone, probably.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They knew.
So
Yeah.
just some advice. If you're a plumber, don't drink and light around a gas leak. Don't drink
No.
and light flames.
No, absolutely not. The thing is I wouldn't do anything at work. It was always after time when I would do it. Occasionally pills here and there, but for the most part, it was on weekends and at night.
And so it was hard to turn it off on Sunday afternoon.
I couldn't turn it off. There's no way I could. I'd done it for so many years. I'm 47, and I'd been doing drugs for at least 32 of those years.
Wow.
Couldn't shut it off. Yeah, 15.
See, the reason this program is important, it's a win-win situation. First of all, what he was in the hospital for towards the end did not necessarily require hospitalization, okay? So the sooner they can get him out of that room, they save money. But the flip side of that, looking at it from his perspective, is he can get into treatment immediately, as opposed to them, say, sending him home and having him wait for several weeks for treatment or something. And that's when so many people relapse, is when you're home, you have all this time to yourself, and you would have just been recuperating from everything.
Yeah.
And so it's a win-win for clients as well as for IHC. You know.
Absolutely.
Because you make that decision, you want to get clean, but the sooner you're in and you're surrounded by good influences, the better. Because sitting at home watching Days of Our Lives is not let anyone to
with access to booze, you know,
whatsoever. Whatsoever.
And so, you know, to me, when I heard about this, it was like, wow, you know, that's a pretty cool program. And the doctor at IHC who came up with the idea, you know, I guess he's a pretty cool guy. I haven't met him yet, Dr. Mayer.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of thinking out of the box in terms of a treatment program and for a hospital, which we need to do more of. I mean, if we're going to cope with the epidemic of addiction and alcoholism, people need to think outside the box.
And last week's guest, talking to her about Rusty's situation with Judge Campbell in the federal courts, placing a bet on her and really, you know, could see the improvement and stuff. Because we're talking lives here. Every life is important. Every life is important. And to think outside the box, to do new things is...
Well, and that's why they've changed sentencing guidelines now to, you know, reduce minor drug charges from a felony to a misdemeanor. And, you know, as Police Chief, Salt Lake Police Chief Mike Brown says all the time, he says, you can't arrest your way out of this situation. You know, would throwing you in jail have solved your problem?
No, absolutely not.
And now you're back out, you're functioning, has life ever been as good as it is right now?
It has never been this good. Absolutely.
So you're telling me that sitting next to Randall is just the greatest day of your life?
To be honest with you, it's one of the highlights. Absolutely.
You might. I'll talk to you later.
You haven't had a very exciting life if that's a highlight.
A definite highlight.
But the idea, and we talk about hope, that all of a sudden you have that hope.
Yes, absolutely. Through therapy and the group, all the groups I went through at Odyssey House, it taught me how to maintain and, you know, process the negative thoughts and let them go, and the constant where everybody, you know, you have the chance to engage each other and be honest with each other through encounters, and, you know, learning how to talk to people using the give and fast, you know, way. As far as when you give encounters, you know, you be fair, you don't apologize, you're steadfast in your beliefs, and you tell the truth. And when you're on the other side of that, you be gentle, show interest, validate their feelings in an easy manner. And I learned that. That's one of the greatest things I learned.
It's one of the big things at Odyssey House is encounters. And it's one of the things people hate the most because it'd be like, I'm trying to think of an example. If you saw me breaking one of the significant rules at Odyssey House, you would write down an encounter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this would just be an example of how people learn to civilly deal with each other on an honest level. So tell me what you would say to me if you saw me doing something like that. You go ahead.
Okay, perfect. What they would read off the encounters. Jamie, you have an encounter on Randall, and so I would have to read it, and it would say, Randall, I want to hold you accountable for leaving your say breakfast bowl on the table, and it makes me you know, a little upset that we have to do, you know, extra stuff to.
That seems like just a small little issue.
Kind of menial.
Yeah.
Absolutely menial, but there's definitely bigger issues.
Right. And the one key of the encounter there is you have to talk about a feeling. It made me feel. And then and this is in front of the group too. So you got to understand, this is openness and honesty. The cereal bowl doesn't matter. It could be any issue. And then I'd have to say, Jamie, I'm sorry. I upset you by leaving my cereal bowl there. It was a lazy thing for me to do, and the next time I eat cereal, I'll clean my bowl and take it back to the sink. And
Excellent.
and then the facilitator would say, "Does that work for you, Jamie?" You know.
Yep.
And there's another option there too, is if I would say, "You're full of crap. That wasn't my cereal bowl there, blah, blah, blah." And a facilitator might open it up to the group and say, "Did anybody else see the cereal bowl there, or see Randall put the cereal bowl there?" You know. And then you have this whole group discussion. They're all focusing on me for my damn cereal bowl.
Well,
you know.
and this might come as a shock to you, but occasionally people with alcohol and drug problems are not 100% truthful.
Right.
And that
right.
approach
You think?
seems like it has worked for you until you find out that, first of all, you weren't fooling anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
maybe a few people. But by and large, people, you know, and you seem very likable. And likability becomes an enablement. Because I know in my case that I could get away with stuff by saying, "Hey, I apologize, I won't
Yeah.
do another football game drunk."
Yeah. And it does help, you know. But I don't know. Were you are you a likable person when you were high all the time or not?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. No.
See, I
You
think
seem-
I was obnoxious. I think.
Were you?
I think. I don't know.
Well, you got 4 beautiful women to marry you.
Well, yeah, that's true. But when I was drunk, I'd try to pick up other women while I was still married. So
That's a challenge.
mistake.
Yeah,
yeah.
that-
And no amount of being nice or anything else will solve that issue.
So, Jamie, you have made the last year has been an amazing turnaround.
Yes.
What do you look for in the future?
Helping out, giving back.
And how are you going to do that?
Go to meetings, do whatever I can to help out as far as when they have events and stuff like that. And when I can, go back to Odyssey House. I'm gonna do what I can there. I love that place.
Do you feel like you're part of a family? I've noticed so many clients, they get close to people and you feel like you're part of the Odyssey family, really.
Oh yeah, it's an absolute family. And I even, I'll send an email to my therapist saying I miss you and I miss Odyssey House all the time. And I'm so grateful Rachel connects with me all the time. And I to be honest with you, I miss it. I really miss it.
And are you back to being a plumber?
No, not at this point right now.
What are you doing now?
Work part-time as a field engineer for a communications company.
So you're a pretty smart guy.
Maybe. Sure.
Do you, when you're in the field, how do you handle a frustration that in the past would maybe lead to drugs or alcohol? What are some of the steps, or what are some of the skills that Odyssey House has taught you?
Patience, definite patience. And I can't solve everything right there and there. You know what I mean? I just stop, take a step back, observe, and then I proceed.
And you make mistakes and accept them, right?
Oh, yeah. I make mistakes, I accept them, and it's not the end of the world, I have a better confidence, absolute confidence.
One of the things I learned with sobriety for me has meant I'm more peaceful and I'm much more patient. I'm much less likely to have resentment or anger or anything over something that happens. Whereas, if you looked at me cross-eyed in my drinking days, it'd be like, I don't like that trip. He looks at me weird, and now you can look at me because you're looking at me weird right now. And I say, and I still like you. You see, that's the difference with sobriety. But I do think it creates more, I hate to use the word serenity because we use that all the time in AA, but it does create serenity in you.
And Jamie, the one thing that I've learned in my time in sobriety is that to level out your days is super important.
Yeah.
When you're in alcohol or drugs, you're looking to get those perfect days, those 10 days. And in real life, if you can have a lot of days that are 5, 6, or 7, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And the key to that is that you don't have the days that are the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s.
Yeah.
And by trying to commit suicide, you had a lot of 1s.
Yeah, very many, quite a bit.
Do you remember the decision to commit suicide? Was it very conscious? Did you say, I'm getting out of here?
Yeah, it was after 3 days of drinking beer, and I had gotten a little bit of meth the night before and just took it all and sat there and thought to myself, it's either jails, institutions, or death. And I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to be institutionalized, so I chose death. And that's when I did. Scary moment.
So many people do think about that. You know, the ironic thing, I mean, meth is sort of an upper, but for people, alcoholics, it's so weird because it's a depressant. And so you drink and you're depressed already, so you're drinking, and then so you're consuming a depressant, and then it makes everything even worse. Yeah. And it just, how many people in AA meetings I've heard talk about the fact that they've certainly considered, but a lot of them have said they've tried to commit suicide. And so it obviously has something to do with the consumption of alcohol or drugs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people who have never had a drug or alcohol problem have thought about suicide as well. So it's
true.
What's the word I want to use? Pervasive. Thank you.
Okay.
I was going for but we have a very high teen suicide rate in the state of Utah. So there are so many challenges out there from a mental health standpoint.
Right. And our point of doing all this is to show that there are treatment methods, and it doesn't have to be Odyssey House, but there are things that people are doing that are working. And you take in a year, you go from trying to commit suicide to looking at life positively, and most of it, you can say Odyssey had a lot to do with it, and maybe Odyssey played a part, but you played the biggest part in that because you did the work, and you're reaping the benefits now. I mean, it was work, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, hard work. It was absolutely hard work. But if I didn't follow the guidelines that Odyssey House sets for you and teaches you the change of behavior, and you really acknowledge it and take it in for what it's worth and spend the time to really focus on what they teach you.
Well, Jamie, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a great half hour. I've learned a lot, and
you realize what you're doing here is hopefully helping people who are either listening or watching, because they'll say, "I was at that point too," yeah. and if he can do what he did, then I can too. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. Get the help if you need it.
Right. Jamie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Randall, another half hour in the books. Are we at show 39, I think?
I don't know what it is. Vladimir, we want to talk specifically to you.
This is show 39.
39, Vladimir. If you want to go back and watch some of the other ones, you can go to YouTube, or you can just Google Odyssey House Journals. And we're happy that we could help you with your drinking issues. And hopefully you have better dealings with the United States now. So,
yeah, you might, if you sober up, you might get invited to that G7.
Yeah. I'm
next
not
year,
sure
wherever
about
it
that.
is.
Yeah, right.
So once again, Jamie, thank you so much. For Randall, I'm Tripp. Thanks for watching. And the important thing is, if you have some challenges, if you have a loved one, pick up the phone and call. The number at Odyssey House is
801-322-3222.
And we're not directing people to Odyssey House, but if we can get someone on the phone with you, there are tons of great places that can help. There are tons of caring people here in the state of Utah.
And if you're watching, we're on YouTube, and we tease it on Odyssey House's Facebook page, but we're also on Spotify and iTunes. And one thing you might want to do, because it gives us better records, is if you go to one of those, if you subscribe to the podcast, then you get it every week. And then we know you get it every week, and that adds to the 12,000 listeners.
And we're very pleased. Want to thank Lee and Thorpe with the new studio. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
Looks great. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.